Yeah.
Are we recording?
Yeah.
Oh. And we're talking about optics?
Optics.
All right, optics. Ready?
Yep.
3, 2, 1. Hey everybody, it's Eric and
Roy.
And today we're going to be talking about optics and how to pick the right optic for your weapon system. So whether it's a rifle, despite what caliber or length, how to pick the right optic. Before we get started, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. That really does help us out. And also continue to comment down below any experiences or what your experiences are or any tips that are helpful to the Barrel and Hatchet community. Put them in the comments. It's awesome to see you guys feed off of each other and help each other grow. And also this episode, we're going to give a big shout out to Big Tex Ordnance for helping us out. We just became an affiliate with them.
Yeah. So if you're looking for a solid discount code, drop down into the comment section.
Yep, in the description. Yep.
Not the comment section. Yeah, we'll put it in the comment section too. Drop down into the description, grab that discount code, head over there.
Yep.
They carry a ton of product.
Yeah. So
and some really cool patches and stickers.
Yeah, a lot of cool stuff. So
thank you, Big Tex.
Any disclaimers?
No, honestly, all of this stuff that we're talking about is just really general. So it really comes down to, once again, always get out and train. Because it doesn't really matter what the internet tells you to do. It's a matter of what you actually get out there and experience for yourself.
True.
So, by the way, if you're looking for some training, you know where to go. Come see us at Barrel and Hatchet.
We'd love to see you. We'd love to train with you.
Yeah,
so come check out the
tons of different
site.
classes.
All right, so we'll talk about what is it that Roy and myself do to choose an optic.
Yeah, when we're building out a rifle or putting a rifle together or wanting to kind of experiment with something different, some of the things that we consider.
What's our first bullet point?
First bullet point is the most important one, is it's got to look good. It has to look cool because
it's rule number one.
It is rule number one. And I'm going to be honest with you, it may sound like a joke, but we were talking about this earlier before we decided to have this conversation, and Eric was like saying, "Hey, what about such and such scope?" Yeah. And I was like, "No, I can't do that scope." And he's like, "Well, why? It's a great scope." And I'm like, "It's entirely too large for the rifle. It doesn't look good on it.
It doesn't look weird.
It looks weird on the gun. It doesn't matter how good it is.
Yeah.
To me, it looks weird, so I don't like it, and I won't run it."
Yeah. I mean, it's going to boil down a lot to what you like about the rifle and how it looks.
Personal preference, how everything appeals, how everything feels. Looking cool is the funny way of putting it, but at the end of the day, how does it actually feel on the gun? When you pick up the rifle, is it the proper setup for you?
It should be one of those things where you look at the rifle and you can't stop looking at it.
Yeah, and it just feels natural when it's on the gun.
Yeah. So yeah, rule number one, there's a reason why it's the first bullet point. Rule number one is look cool.
Yeah, I always gotta look cool.
Second bullet point is price point.
Yeah, that's a big one. Price point really comes into play, especially when you're building out that, for you guys that are newer shooters, building out that first rifle, and you're trying to set it up, and you say, hey, man, I got a $1,500 budget, or I got a $1,000 budget. Taking that into consideration, that I got my rifle, I need ammo to train with, I need magazines.
Yeah.
I still need some type of sighting system. I need a sling. I need a light. There's a lot of things that come in as far as variables that you may be really narrow in that window as far as choosing that optic. Now, there are a lot of great options out there to still get you in there in that couple $100 price range to get a solid optic. So budget is a big key.
Yeah, I will say as part of your price point, let's just say you had a $1,500 price point as far as your total budget for your rifle. A decent amount of that, like a larger percentage in terms of the other types of categories for that rifle, a good percentage of that should be your glass. Right?
I believe that
it should be your
100%. You can typically, get away with a little lesser on the rifle side. There's a lot of decent quality rifles out there in the market now. Taking your time, choosing right, that you can budget yourself properly, and then also still pick up a decent optic.
Which guys can refer to our AR upgrades video. You can go check it out in our playlist and see different types of upgrades.
Yeah, I mean, as far as baseline wise goes, you start with a rifle and you always have that room to upgrade to AR platform. Is obviously a true Lego system. So I mean, even if you're looking for an optic for your AK or whatever kind of carbine that you're running, price comes into play. That is a huge choice. If you are the individual and you have a 16-inch barrel gun and it's like, man, I really want to run a low power variable optic because those are the cool thing to do now. You got a mount that you still have to buy.
Right.
Mounts aren't cheap. I mean,
you don't want to skimp on that either.
Even a solid mount like an Aero Precision is still probably going to run you $90 or so. And then you have the optic on the cheap side, a low power variable. I really haven't found anything that's probably sub $300.
Yeah, I was about to say sub $300.
Sub $300 that is worth the crap.
Yeah,
so,
or if you get a dot and then you want to get a good mount and then a magnifier, so you have some
At least the thing I
magnification.
will say about a dot, and I don't know if you can agree to this, but from my experience, yes, the mounts that a lot of dots come with, like your Holosons and your Vortex, that are decent quality optics that will get you going, that will probably hold up for a good amount of time.
Agreed. Yeah.
Before you have any issues. The mounts that come with them, they're kind of chinchy, kind of cheap.
Yeah.
They're not really providing you a whole lot there, but they will at least get you going.
Yeah.
I've seen even the least inexpensive Holosun, like you take a 403C, and the mount that it comes with lasts somebody, I don't know, solid, couple years worth of use before that mount really starts to give them any kind of issue. Not the best mount. Always room for upgrading that. You can pick up an American Defense mount. You can pick up. If you want to raise it up any higher, like a Unity mount.
Or overbore systems.
Yeah, overbore systems. Yeah, overbore system builds a solid mount. So I mean, picking up an affordable micro dot optic and it gives you a lot of room to eventually grow where you can add that magnifier to the backside of it. So if you're somebody that's really on a tight budget, I kind of lean towards that, right?
The dot and magnifier.
Yeah. So
because I mean, you can get a Vortex magnifier. They're small 3x for what?
About $300.
$300. So I mean, you're looking at $500, and you're into a dot magnifier.
Yeah, you're into a pretty solid little package.
And that gives you a whole grand to run your.
The Vortex
your gun.
Spark is a nice little optic. You're into that, a couple
$150.
The Spark's a couple $100.
Yeah.
$250, $300.
Okay, yeah.
You take the Vortex Crossfire.
That's the one.
I've had so much positive luck out of the Vortex Crossfire, which sometimes you're picking those things up for, with coupon codes, discount codes, like $120.
Yeah.
Sometimes maybe even less than that.
Yeah.
Depending on the year, time of the year, you get around Christmas time, that Black Friday time, you can pick up a Vortex Spark, and that's a solid optic. So if you're the guy that's out there and it's like you're trying to put that rifle together, or maybe you're just trying to put a backup rifle together. And it's like, man, I need something that's affordable. I'm not going to be shooting this thing all the time, but I got to have some type of glass on it. I got to have some type of optic. What I look for.
I've actually seen guys that want to do kind of like a SOP mod way. They'll fully work on one rifle, and then the one that they're working on, once they get their rifle finished, they'll use their backup rifle to be their second upper build.
Correct. Yeah.
So you can kind of really budget how you want to build out your two uppers, one lower. With that AR uppers video that we talked about, we go in depth about the SOP mod.
If you're the individual that has an infinite amount of budget, then
buy it all at once.
Buy it all at once. Get it done and over with.
Yeah.
Go out, and that kind of rolls into that. Choosing the optic that fits the rifle's capability. Right.
Yeah. We see this a lot.
We see it quite often. So sometimes it's like. Well, man, I don't want to run that optic because of how much it weighs or something like that. I don't really care how much. Weight is a concern for me. Okay, I run a 13.7 rifle. Generally speaking, most of the time is kind of like my general purpose rifle, and I'm running a 2 to 10 Credo on it.
Right.
I got a American Defense mount and then a dot mounted on top of it. That's quite a bit of weight going on.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I would
Not only do I have all that mounted on there, I'm also running a heavy profile barrel, like we talked about it in our, our uppers video. I like heavy profile barrels. I like Centurion barrels. They happen to be. I run their Recce profile barrel.
Yeah,
it's a great barrel. I run their Mark 12 profile, their 16-inch barrel, or even a 14.5 version of that. They are extremely accurate barrels. So I've got a barrel that I've purchased for my build and that rifle is capable of shooting sub-MOA.
Yeah.
If I do my part as a shooter, because that's key number one, that's why we get out and train, so we can do our part. But if I do my part as a shooter, that rifle is very much capable of shooting sub-MOA.
Yeah.
As long as I'm pairing it with me and in the proper type of ammo that complements it. So I need to complement that rifle with something, an optic, that helps me maintain that even all the way out the distance. So yeah, I run a 13.7 barrel, Recce Profile Centurion barrel. Centurion, right? Yeah, Centurion.
Yeah, Centurion.
Yeah. Yeah, Centurion.
Centurion.
I always get confused sometimes with all these barrel companies that are out there. But Centurion barrel, and that's a, so I run the 2 to 10 on it. I'm willing to sacrifice and have the additional heavy weight with this system because the rifle is so capable of shooting very tight groups. It would make no sense for me to just throw a EOTech and a magnifier on that setup.
I think the biggest thing is with weight, a lot of people focus on weight, but understand that these 2 rules of thumb is if you want capability and durability, you're gonna have weight. You're just gonna have to carry the weight at the end of the day. Just carry it. If you want those things, it's going to be weighty because you can't have, if you take away material, it'll be lighter but less durable, or you have less capable things on that gun. So if you want to carry a gun that has capability and durability, you're going to have to carry the weight. So for me and Roy, we look at things that complement the rifle, that give us the capability and the durability, and we'll figure the weight out.
If I'm building out a lightweight rifle, I'm going with a pencil profile barrel, regardless of what that barrel length is. If I'm doing a 13.9 or 14.5, and I'm going with more of that pencil profile, and I'm trying to cut weight. I'm shopping for rails that are lighter weight, stuff like that, because weight obviously is a concern. So if you are that individual, and that is your number one key factor into your build, then micro red dot and a magnifier is probably going to be or a smaller LPVO, low power variable, something like the Steiner 1 to 4.
Yeah. Or if you're like running a competition.
Correct.
Competition gun, you want to run lightweight, perfect. Understand, like you're shooting stuff up close. But for like gas gun matches, further distance, you may want a little bit weightier gun because you want that capability.
Sometimes we get wrapped up into, regardless of what the build is, what that optic is going to do to even. I see it quite often, like we'll get guys that show up to our scope carbine class, and they're running, like I said, a very pencil, very light profile barrel, something at the gas port size goes down to .625. So it really starts to taper down into that really, really light profile barrel. And they're out there with with high quality magnified optics. And sometimes they're seeing some drift and stuff like that. They're seeing some accuracy deficiency based on what the rifle is physically capable of doing. That type of system is probably deserving of an optic. If it's a lighter weight system, then it's probably deserving of an optic that it is what? Lighter weight, right? So,
and I mean, it's the same thing as like seeing like maybe an 18-inch heavier profile barrel and someone throws an ACOG on there that's only 4X. It's like that barrel or that weapon system or that rifle's capability desires more with the optic. So just kind of pairing those to make sure that the optic complements the rifle capability.
Not necessarily dictating your barrel length all the time. It doesn't. That doesn't mean quite as much. Running a 14.5 rifle with a red dot and magnifier is perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I know tons of guys that do it, but they're also not going out with that red dot and magnifier because they know that is probably not even going to be capable of them being able to shoot sub MOA. Because the optic doesn't. They're not spending $500 and $600 just on a barrel.
They have a sub-MOA gun and not a sub-MOA sighting system.
Exactly. So they're out there picking up optics and picking up barrels that match their capability in that particular rifle setup. So that's a big one. Matching it to fit it, regardless sometimes what barrel length may be. How good is your rifle? How accurate can it shoot? If you got a sub-MOA shooting rifle and you're just running a red dot on it, I mean, you do you. But I'm probably going to add something to it to give me a little bit more magnification.
I think also something to kind of talk about the optic complementing the rifle is also what about like tube size, like 30 mil versus 34 or even 35 mil.
I mean, if you're looking for that little bit more robust, something that's a little bit more beefy, that can handle a little bit more abuse. Same thing goes if you're looking for something like I'm running a Mark 12. I dial that Mark 12 quite often.
Yeah.
So for me, starting to look into optics that have like 34 millimeter tubes or 35 millimeter tubes come into play because it gives me that much more elevation.
Yeah.
Adjustment because of that larger tube. So that makes a big difference. Objective size, when we're talking about magnified optics, for me on an AR platform, this goes back to rule number 1, kind of looking cool.
Yep.
I don't like really large objectives. I don't want a 56 millimeter objective on my AR. I don't need to bring that much light in.
Yeah.
And would it be nice to be able to do so?
Sure.
Yes, but that becomes quite large. It forces me to have to also raise my scope up higher than what I'm comfortable with.
Yeah.
So we'll see that often where guys are running something like that, like a 50 millimeter objective or a 56 millimeter objective, and like the scope is pairing well with the rifle's capability, but they have to jack the gun up so high, the optic mount, they're running 1.7 or 1.93 or something like that, so they get proper clearance underneath it. That's not comfortable to me. So it goes back into why I like the 2-10, like the Credo, or even some of the low power variables out there, because I can kind of keep that mount still low, or looking forward to trying out the new Leupold 2-10, putting some time behind it, even though Eric tells me not to. So,
anyways, I mean,
for another day.
Another one that's a good one with optic complementing the rifle's capability. If I'm building a night gun, I need to make sure that
100%.
my reflex optic is night vision capable.
You're running a co-witness height optic. Not that you can't get it done, because guys have done it for a very long time.
Yep.
But there's things out there now that allow you, pairing your optic like a Unity mount, or 193 Reptilia mount, or I know Midwest Industries and American Defense both have 193 to 2.4 inch or whatever the heights are now out there.
Overbore Systems.
Overbore Systems. So there's tons of companies that have optic height mounts that get you up tall enough that are going to make you more comfortable.
Yeah, I think the other thing,
the AKA, you're going to say probably night vision capability.
Yes. So this is something like, with the night vision capability of an optic, specifically with reflex dots, is like, for example,
if you asked me almost 3 years ago, night vision capability, if it was important, I would probably tell you no.
Yeah, and it is. And so,
but it is very important.
Very important. Whenever you get a non-night vision capable optic, the glass is a different shade to help block out sunlight, but also the reticle doesn't dim down enough to be able to passively aim through it.
You have all those additional settings.
The EOTech is probably the best, in my opinion, the best night vision optic.
Are you telling he was full of poo-poo?
I was like, dude, so check it out. Whenever I push on an EOTech that has a non-night vision mode, I can only go down so far, and it's still too bright to aim passively. If I have the night vision EOTech model, I can push that night vision button, and I have so many settings.
Based on lighting, okay? Like, there are certain lighting situations, because I've shot EOTechs that were non-night vision capable for quite some time, and I was getting the job done. But then as I kind of...
Those darker nights,
and started changing my environment, and experimenting around with some different, different illumination, natural and artificial illumination. I noticed having that additional settings in the EOTech really came into play. For my night vision guns, I mean, the Aimpoint T2 is obviously fantastic. It has some great settings in it, but in personal opinion, still to this day, there's nothing that beats an EXPS3 night vision capable optic. And then throwing that on top of
like a Overbore or Unity Systems mount.
Correct, mount.
What is the one HoloSun? It's a more popular model. It doesn't have a night vision mode.
The 510.
So that one, I actually tried passively aiming with that, and there was a shade of it where it was almost like, especially with PVS-14, if you're trying to aim passive, you only got one tube. So if you make that super dark, it's very hard to see through the tube. You can see the dot, but it's hard to see through the tube at what you're aiming at, especially if you're running a 14.
Yeah, I would say that is not a very good passive aiming optic.
But you know what it is? It also is a good one is, we just talked about it earlier, the Vortex.
The Vortex,
Yeah, the Vortex.
Inexpensive optic.
Crossfire.
Vortex Crossfire, inexpensive optic, and you can passively,
and
it's got night vision modes, you can passively aim with it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you're talking a little over $100 optic.
And you're already in that game.
And you can still be night vision capable.
Yeah. So I mean, that's
makes a great little additional optic to run on, your gun.
That's another great one to talk about, optic complementing the rifle's capability.
Yep.
But setting an environment.
Yeah. You guys know your environment. Do you need magnification? Do you not need it? Is it something that you can get away with, just
Yeah.
as typical red dot, and then have a set of binoculars so you can PID?
Yeah. Say maybe you live in a rural area, but you only have a red dot. Maybe
Yeah.
it'd be good to have an LPVO or some magnification.
Exactly. So taking that into consideration, how thick is your environment?
Yeah.
If you got to move your family and you got to actually start, stepping
Yeah.
and moving in a direction, what are you going to have to go through? Do you have to go through a whole bunch of crap? For us, there's certain areas of our
It's like a rainforest.
It's like a rainforest.
Yeah.
It's super thick, so
Yeah.
sometimes carrying bulky optics
Yeah.
on guns can definitely be difficult to,
Yeah.
to even maneuver around in there. Sometimes I wish I basically had just had a gun with iron sights on it.
Car 15.
Because it's so thick and heavy.
Yeah.
So your environment, taking that as a massive consideration to what you choose.
I know one thing that people
And that
will
kind of
say,
falls into that complementing the rifle too.
I think one thing people will say is like, oh, I live in an urban environment. I need to have only a dot and a magnifier. It's like, how long is a block? You can see down a street for 100 yards to maybe 1,000
You
yards.
may be able to get away with that.
Yeah.
But it's not the end all be all. It's
Correct.
like, you can run other types of optics.
Yeah. So you got to look at your setting and see what applies best for me with my optic choice.
Exactly. Get a set of binoculars out and see how far you can look.
What about our trends? Buying an optic based off of trends.
Yeah, so we see that quite often, and where we really see that over probably the past, 5-6 years or more, has been in the low power variable optic market. So many times people are purchasing LPVOs because that's what you see the military moving to, that's what you see, just trending on the internet. It's not for everyone. The low power variable doesn't fit everyone's needs.
We also see it with mounts too.
It's not the fix.
Yeah, with mounts.
Yeah, we do see
higher mounts.
Yeah, higher mounts. And that's another thing. We see that with like LPVOs, like, okay, well, I want to run a 193 or I want to run a 2-inch over bore height, optic mount. You're getting it up there really high.
Yeah.
With a magnified style optic, that becomes difficult to get a good solid cheek well.
And we've seen guys who have those really, really high mounts, especially for LPVOs, that are very uncomfortable and are constantly fighting their gun versus letting it work for them.
Correct. Trends, LPVOs are a big one. If you don't have one and you're getting by and you're utilizing your red dot and magnifier, you're really not missing out.
No.
It's not a necessity. It's not the end all be all. It doesn't fix all the problems. It does a couple things good.
Yeah.
And a bunch wrong.
I mean, even in our general purpose rifle course, we will stretch you out a little bit towards the end of the class using a dot and magnifier, or an ACOG will stretch you out to 500 yards. You can do it. You don't need an LPVO to get out to distance.
So LPVOs, we see those as far as trends quite often. Don't. Hey, if you want to try one, try one. If you have it in your budget, go purchase one. Try it. Perfectly fine. Try to jump in behind a buddy's rifle or something like that. It definitely takes some getting used to.
Yeah.
You typically have a smaller eye box. Like I said earlier, you have there's some sacrifice there. It usually does a couple things really, really good, and a bunch of other stuff it doesn't do very good.
Yeah.
Usually you'll have a really, really good 1X.
Yeah.
So you can kind of treat it like a red dot. And then you have a crappy high magnification.
Yeah.
And that's what happens a lot of times. And two, reticle choices in the LPVOs.
Yeah.
I'm not a huge fan of most of the reticle choices in low power variables. They leave a lot to be desired.
Yeah.
They don't give you, they either give you too much information
or not enough.
And
that's a good reason why we went to the 2 to 10.
Yeah.
Because
some of the LPVOs only give me enough information basically that a red dot will give me.
Yeah.
And then I can throw a magnifier behind it. And I have a true infinite 1X with this massive eye box, an infinite eye box, and even sometimes zero parallax depending on the optic that I'm choosing. I'm picking up an EOTech or something like that. I have this massive eye relief, infinite amount of eye relief, and I don't have any parallax to issue.
I mean, we even ran ACOGs for literally a year straight.
Yeah.
And that wasn't popular to run, but it just matched what we needed. It matched our criteria.
It fit it. I've ran an ACOG for a very long time when basically the entire internet hated the ACOG.
Yeah.
But it fit the needs behind my rifle setup that I had it complemented with.
Yeah.
So don't necessarily follow all the way into the trends. Kind of find what works for you. If you don't have an optic right now and you're looking for something, I always lean back towards a red dot.
Yeah.
It's nice and simple. It gets the job done, and you can always throw a magnifier behind it.
I feel like a lot of trends are also set based off of like special ops or special operations in the military.
Like the SOT programs and things like
but
that.
It's
and
like
what the
you gotta
military's doing. Yeah.
understand those guys are running very specific mission sets that require specific type of equipment,
And it's the
which
only
may
thing
not
that
work
they're-
for you.
It's the only thing that they're training with too.
Yeah.
They literally
Sometimes it's just a budget thing.
They have no other choice.
Yeah.
So I mean, like when the ACOG was issued, what did they have?
ACOG.
They had ACOG. So that's
Or an LCAN.
Or an LCAN.
Yeah.
That's it. So don't necessarily follow that because we are the civilian market, and then as a consumer, you have a infinite amount of choices.
Yeah.
Like the realm.
The sky's the limit.
The sky's the limit. You can purchase whatever you want.
You can get it a military style setup if that works for your environment.
Yep.
But the biggest point we're trying to make with this is don't follow a trend and buy based off of trends.
Yep.
Buy what makes sense for you and makes sense for that rifle's capability.
Pick what fits you.
Don't fall in the trend of buying trends.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
It's a massive trench.
It's a massive trench of trends.
A massive trench of trends.
Yeah.
The internet knows everything.
Yeah.
So sometimes stay off of it and, well, besides coming and watch us and hit that like and subscribe
The Barrel
button.
Hatchet community is smart. They know what's up.
Yeah, get out there in the field and physically put it to work.
Yeah.
Push yourself to a certain extent to you're uncomfortable. There's been many times where if I didn't push myself to try something different in an optic that I thought was like, this may not necessarily fit me, I gave it a fair shake.
Yeah.
Like I don't just throw an optic on a gun. You can ask any of the guys that I shoot with. I will throw an optic on a gun and I will shoot it and shoot it and shoot it. And sometimes it just doesn't work, and sometimes I end up falling in love with it.
Yeah.
So everyone thought I was crazy when I went to throw a 2-10 on top of a 13.7 rifle.
I didn't think you were crazy.
What are you doing? And you know what? I fell in love with it.
Yeah.
So,
And so did
but
I.
if I wasn't willing to try that,
Yeah.
then I would have never discovered it. Same thing goes with the offset red. Oh, how many
Offset,
optics?
yeah.
How many
optics?
optics should you?
Yes, that
should
was
you
it.
have? Okay.
3.
We've had guns where they have multiple optics, like 3 optics on there.
Let me ask you this. If you're running an ACOG and a top-mounted red dot, and you have iron sights, how many sighting systems are you running?
Yeah.
You're running 3 sighting systems.
Yep, correct.
So why is it so crazy to have my main optic, my top-mounted dot, and a 45 optic if I have no iron sights?
Yep.
Like,
what is wrong with having a low-power variable, a dot mounted on the top, and then also a dot mounted on a 45?
I see guys literally run.
You're talking about a few ounces.
Yeah.
That is it, and you're virtually not even getting anything in the way.
Yeah.
With all of the modern mounting systems that are out there, the Badger Ordnance, the Arasaka, the Reptilia Corps, the American Defenses, Bobro, just there's such a wide amount of mounting systems now that are good quality companies building solid options that you can mount your optic pretty much almost however you want, and it's not in the way. It stays zero.
Yeah.
You can take a micro red dot, something like an RMR footprint or something like that, and throw that on a 45, and it virtually disappears on the gun. That if you're not really paying attention, most people don't even see it on the gun.
Yeah. And then we actually did that in an experiment on the American Defense gun we were reviewing.
You can throw the top dot, your 2-10, or your low power variable, or your ACOG with a top dot, and then an offset 45.
Yeah.
Have any of you ever canted your rifle over to the side to shoot through a port? If you've ever shot a VTAC barricade, guess what you've done?
Cannoned your rifle.
You've cannoned your rifle.
Yeah.
Okay? Having a cannoned red dot sometimes complements your shooting environment.
Yeah. I will say this, it does take training. It
Yes.
does take you training to remember to use the 45. I actually recently in a class saw a student who had a LPVO with a top-mounted dot and 45s on an offset.
Yep.
So it's like, we should start thinking about
the internet
how
is always
to
willing to do
how to do a red dot on a 45 with our top dot. Like we can start exploring these options and not stick with a stigma of like, oh well, that's ridiculous.
Yeah. The internet is always willing to run backup iron sights.
Yeah.
What is wrong with running a backup red dot?
We're there already. It's solar powered. It didn't turn
I
on.
mean, what is the harm if I have my primary optic?
Yeah.
You know, maybe it's an ACOG, maybe it's a low power variable or something like that, or a 2 to 10, a mid power variable, whatever we're calling them nowadays. New freaking
Mid power variable.
mid power variable, high power variable.
Yeah. It's called the RPVO, the Roy's powered variable.
Yeah, exactly. Whatever your optic is,
Yeah.
and then you have an optic mounted on top, and then you want an additional backup optic based on the scenario or the environment, or just for the fact that you just want an additional backup optic. What is wrong with a 45-degree offset red dot as a backup?
Yeah.
It gets the job done. You just need to do what with it?
Train with it.
Yeah. You need to learn how to zero it. You need to know how to train with it.
And the more you train with it, the biggest thing is just remembering to use it.
Correct.
Guys just don't think to use it.
I
They'll
see
use
so
their
many people
primary
put backup irons on their gun, and they never even zero them.
Yeah. I mean, it's true.
All the time.
Yeah.
They'll show up to classes, and they'll have their optics mounted on their gun, even just a red dot. They'll have a red dot, and they'll have backup irons on their gun. So they're willing, those two sighting systems, they're perfectly fine with that. To them, I would rather have a red dot and an additional red dot on the offset, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I'd rather have an EOTech and then a micro red dot off the side of the gun.
Maybe
for
we should
45.
start doing that again.
Yeah, I mean, why not, right?
Yeah.
At least those two optics I can tell you that I can shoot with, and I can also tell you that they'll definitely be zeroed.
Yeah.
So many times people are throwing those iron sights on the gun, and they come out and it's like, okay, well, what do you have your iron sights zeroed at?
I mean, if you think about the offset iron sights,
Or they'll
like
tell me, I'll ask them, why do you have iron sights? Oh, because I can co-witness it.
Well, I mean, what about the offset iron sights, like the real expensive ones? You're almost in a dot anyways.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
You know, you're running almost $200
Exactly.
if you're getting some NBUS pros, you know. So.
And the excuse sometimes is, oh, I can co-witness. Well, you still have two different sighting systems. Both have to be zeroed. Both take some type of training, you know, and you have to zero them.
Yeah.
Like, you can't just throw them on your gun.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
I know we ran on a rant there for a second. So.
But I mean, we've been talking about
It fires me up a little bit when
Well,
I see people that hate on the fact of running an additional optic.
Yeah.
I don't really care. Like,
it works for you.
You do you.
Yeah.
If it works for you and you know how to use it, you've taken the time to invest in yourself and put reps in, whether you've paid for training classes where you've had the opportunity to put those reps in, or you're paying for that time to go out on your own and put those reps in. Whether that's dry fire, live fire, whatever it is, you're out there putting the rounds down, putting the trigger presses in, getting comfortable behind the rifle, putting that training time in, you know, to see if it works for you.
Doing some quality control on yourself.
Yes.
So make sure you guys go out and train. As obviously, as we always say, make sure you comment below. What are you running?
Yep.
What type of setup do you have? Maybe that'll spark some ideas that may match somebody else.
How many optics do you have?
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest with you. It's going back to sighting systems.
Yeah.
I have an aiming device.
Yep. I've got
an active laser.
Yeah,
I have a lot of aiming devices. Like, who cares? Whatever.
So make sure you comment below about what you're running, and then maybe somebody else might be able to find that helpful. Also, make sure you go check out, like we said in the beginning, go check out Big Tech's Ordnance. If you have any stuff that you are wanting to invest in, they have a good discount code. Check it out in the description below. Yep. Rumble.
And once again, hold on, before Rumble, they have some really cool stickers.
They do have some cool stickers.
They have some cool stickers and cool patches.
So everybody loves stickers.
Yeah, exactly. Rumble, you got to pay for that, right?
No. You don't pay for Rumble. You can just type in HatchetCast.
I feel like you should pay for Rumble.
I know.
It's such a good platform.
Every video that's on YouTube is on Rumble, so go check us out there. Also, we have the HatchetCast podcast on Spotify. You can listen to all of our podcasts there where we talk about training and mindset. And then also Instagram. Go check out our Instagram page. And also, we just opened up a Discord. So if you guys want to talk amongst each other in your little community, we have a Discord chat. I'm still learning how to use that.
We got a lot of ways for people to communicate. Listen, if you can't find us by now,
so
it wasn't meant to be.
Yeah, I am learning Discord for you guys to try and figure out how to use it, but
Eric,
it is
God
there.
bless you.
Yeah, they said servers, and I was like, wait, there's internet on this thing? So, anyways, as always,
we do
guys,
it for you.
Yeah, make sure you go out and train. Make sure you invest in yourself. Be the asset and not the liability.
We love you.
Okay, bye.